said of last, if my father survives me, if I explode, if I go up in smoke, if I go quietly, when I go quiet, give my heart to my mother, she'll know what to do, give my songs to my lover, she'll know what to do, give my bones to my father, my poems to my sister, my love to one another, give it all to each other. And I suppose the soul can go to the children. I suppose the trash can go to the museum. I suppose the dreams can go in the casket. I suppose the blood will go where you ask it. Will go where you ask it. Will spill where you ask it. Will spill where you ask. I'll spill where you ask. I'll spill where you ask. I'll spill. I'll spill. I'll spill. I'll spill. I was once the tree, and I was the paper. I was the hair, and I was the razor. I was the leg, I was the table. I was the cloth, and I was the indigo. And I was the indigo, and I was the indigo, and I was the indigo, and I was the color girl, 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 and I was the color girl. It's the blue light when we're out with our friends. It's the blue light asking where the night should end. It's the blue light saying, come over. It's the blue light in my coat on my shoulders. Lying in your room, playing with your hair. Lying to myself, be stable, but I'd like to be the blue light when we're out with our friends, be the blue light asking where the night should end, be the blue light saying come over, be the blue light in the coat on your shoulders, lying in my room, playing solitaire, lying to myself, saying I'm too cool to care, but you're coming over, and you wanna know what are we doing here? What are we doing here? What are we doing here? What are we doing? What are we doing here? What are we doing here? What are we doing here? What are we doing? 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 What are we doing here? College parties, college drinking, all you outcasts gather round, roll a fat one, pour the shots, give this death all you've got, let the liquor loosen your mouth, make a bow with friendly tongues, call your lover, say you're sorry, then go back to making fun. Your friends are drunk and useless, welcome to senior year. The night is young and ruthless, and you want to disappear in the hallway, in the hall, in the hallway, in the hall. You can hear them all around you, broken hearts and blushing sighs. Truth's a hard pill to swallow, but it'll still get you high. I know a faraway land, hidden from even the moon, somewhere queer and quiet, a place you can lick your wounds, in the hallway, in the hall, in the hallway, in the hall. Twilight zone, a place to be alone, or highway cutting through the noise in bed.
Life is pain. Oblivion alone yields peace. You call me stranger. I call myself salvation.
The love of a god is not a blessing, it's a scar.
How can I be the paragon of Mahu if I don't even know who I am?
There's gotta be more to life than making mistakes and making up for your mistakes.
I'm the paragon of risk and reward. Behaving is more of a suggestion. Fate is an offer I intend to reject.
You don't know me. I'm unpredictable, bitch.
I don't need to be a paragon to help save the world.
I came back for a reason, and I am not stopping until I find it.
I will solve the cataclysm, and I'll solve the mystery of myself, too. 4 paragons, 4 keepers, 1 stranger. Huh. Odds are in our favor. Now let's go save Andake.
Content warnings for this episode include fantasy violence, body horror, gore, monsters and monstrosity, death and killing, apocalypse, trauma, complex and complicated relationships, flirting, and romance.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into The Second Stranger by Transplanar RPG. I am your game master and creative producer, Connie. My pronouns are they, he, and she. You can find me on TikTok, Twitter, and not Twitch, I always say Twitch, but that's not true. Ko-Fi, where you can toss a coin to your Connie at by Connie Chong. That's BYCONNICHANG. I'm going to pass along introductions to Erica.
Hi, everybody. It's me, Erica. She, her pronouns. I play V. I'm going to steal something and probably yell at Dewey Quirk. Not sure, though. And you can find me anywhere on social media at Erica Newgirl, including here at Twitch at Erica Newgirl, where I stream. When I stream, who knows? Just come check me out. Hit that follow button, and we'll have some fun together. And with that, I will pass it on to Max.
Hey y'all, I'm Max. My pronouns are they, them. I play Dewey, Bad Dad and Bad Paragon. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter. Yeah, that's basically it. At Starchmonger, where I post mostly selfies, but also like fashion and stuff I make, cats, you know. I'll pass it to Austin.
I had unmuted earlier, so I was ready, and then I remuted just now. My name's Austin. My pronouns are he, they, she. You can find me on Twitter at SailorScottAustin, where it doesn't matter if I remember to unmute or not, where I mostly tweet about games I'm working on or games I'm in or games I talk about or whatever hyperfixation I have in nerddom. Right now it is hunting down all the different logos of Chuck E. Cheese.
Chuck E. Cheese showdown hunt. Well, hello everyone. Connie here again. So if you're tuning in, actually, you know what? Before I even jump into our spiel, I would like to point out that this is, as in time of the recording, the last recording you'll ever see of me that still has my top on. I don't want to violate Twitch, DMCA, or whatever, but I'm wearing my Let's Go Top Surgery top here. This is the only shirt I feel good about my chest in pre-surgery. But I'm getting top surgery tomorrow in terms of the time of the recording, which I'm very, very excited about. So let's put some hype in chat for that. Speaking of getting top surgery, this is episode 10 of The Second Stranger, our main D&D campaign, which is of Transplanar RPG, which is an all transgender. See, I was getting there. All transgender, people of color led, 100% homebrew Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition live streamed actual play campaign set in Andake, an original non-colonial anti-orientalist world. We are, as always, so proud to say that this episode of The Second Stranger is sponsored by @DimitriOpines on Twitter. That's DMITRYOPINES, and Explain Trade, which is a negotiation skills training consultancy believing in the power of D&D and Transplanar's potential to grow, tell great stories, and lift up our community. Explain Trade trains negotiators for governments, big companies, NGOs, and offers e-learning courses for individuals looking to get a better deal from their boss. So level up your charisma score and check them out at explaintrade.com. They're a truly awesome company run by an amazing person. Go check it out and say hello. Speaking of ways to check us out, Austin, why don't you tell our audience about our podcast?
I will absolutely do that. Our podcast episodes release every Tuesday, the crack of dawn. We're in arc 3 in the podcast, and it's carnival time, baby. Please, while you're listening to the podcast, leave us a 5-star review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podbean. With the crow that flew by your window, just tell everybody 5 stars. Every single way you can tell us 5 stars. Wherever you podcast, it really, really, really helps. So please do that. And as a reminder to the patrons out there, you get early access to the podcast episodes I just talked about. You already listened to the episode I was talking about. You're ahead of the game. And we appreciate you and we love you that you get all of this bonus content like art booklets, monthly gaming nights, monthly cast Q&As, and Connie has a special shout out to some of you special patrons.
Thank you for that, Austin. So as a reminder, of course, a huge thank you to our Patreon Paragons. These are patrons pledged to the highest tier of our Patreon. Abigail Reitel, Azura, Brooke Bright, Charles, Chiacres, Cora Eckert, Lex Slater, Marvelous, Mitzi, Moonflower Tea, Purple Mouse, and Target. A haiku for you about this episode. 575, let's see if I get it. The herd gallops off. Galtanger rejects Dewey. How will he rally? 575. Let's see what happens. And speaking of ways to support us, Erica.
Yes, as those of you may know, we have a donation goal and incentives for the stream like we always do. Donos are now going towards a super fun bonus scene, playlist drops, and more. So use the donate command at any time in chat to support our all-trans, person-of-color-led cast and keep the chaotic queer content alive. And now, Max, please remind me what just happened so that I know what I'm going to be yelling about.
Sure, I'll give you the fuel you need to rip me a new one. You can always get to our recap by using exclamation point recap in the chat or by going to bit.ly/transrecap. Here is, to my knowledge, what happened last time. The team fights the hunter, the looming 80-foot figure made of shadowy void, and their equally enormous hound. As they're doing a respectable amount of damage, the unfazed enemy notices the great herd and turns their attention to go after it instead. The shard of Galtanger appears to Dewey in the form of a glowing white calf, but is unsurprisingly disgusted at the idea of getting into the cage of a jar Dewey's built. As she disappears, she shatters the vessel he's been working so hard on. And that's where we leave off for this episode. The title of this episode today is When Ache Arrives, Put It on Paper. From Yesterday, I Was the Moon by Nora Anhar. And I'm going to pass it back to Connie.
Thank you for that, Max. Galtinger literally said, if you look at me, I will stomp you to death with my hooves. So some content warnings for this episode in our Grim Dark Gritty Fantasy campaign are fantasy violence, body horror, gore, monsters and monstrosity, death and killing, apocalypse, trauma, complex and complicated relationships, flirting, and romance. And with those content warnings out of the way, just a reminder, use exclamation point CW in chat at any time to pull up a full list of our content warnings and exclamation point safety for a look at the cast lines and veils so you know what content we will never traverse into no matter how dark things get. So let's get started. There is light in the valley, flame red and flickering, pinpricks of hope against a blanket of shadow. But there is darkness, too. Darkness complete and seething, a silent roar into an indifferent void, a tar-black ocean of nothing. Massive craters pockmark the ground around your camp. Pockets of upturned earth blemish the gently rolling hills all around you, chunks of scattered rock and dirt shattered all about your feet like tombstones. A spiky film of bone marrow spackles the winter grass like crimson seedlings. The smell of smoke, ash, and blood clots your nostrils. A cold breeze sweeps a cloud of black dust southward, a chilly reminder of the hunter and its empty hound. Dewey, we find you crumpled against an icy boulder, the remnants of your god jar smashed between your feet. The weave still stings of Galtinger's presence, invisible threads of radiant heat twining through the air around you. But Galtinger's not here. She's gone. She left. And there is nothing more lonely than the feeling of warmth from the sun draining away from your body. What do you do?
I think there's a moment of stunned silence from everyone as Dewey looks at the pile of fragments of Godjar at his feet. And then slowly, without meeting anyone's eyes, he just turns, leaves the pile there, and heads towards, I guess the tents haven't been set up yet.
They're like halfway erected.
Okay, so he awkwardly goes and like to his tent and like sets it up the rest of the way and goes in and zips the door closed with a decisive zip. Very decisively.
While Dewey is dealing with this tent, I think V is just like stunned silence. Her face is just blank for a bit as she just watches Dewey struggle with this tent. And when he goes in and like zips it up, she looks over to Rev, I think. I'm gonna kill that little pigeon.
V, do what you must, but don't actually kill him.
I make no promises, and I think V goes over to the tent with a quick pace and like tries to unzip it, but I think Dewey's done something to like jam the zipper from the inside. Dewey, open your tent right now!
I think as V's messing with the zipper, Dewey like slaps at it from the inside to like get her hands off of it, but he's not answering.
V looks over at Rev and Abiko and just like shakes her head and then casts Dimension Door. You see a bright purple light, and inside of the tent, boom, bright green light that flashes real quick in Dewey's face, and there's V.
Can you not?
Dewey? What? By the almighty eight, what was that?
That was me getting rejected by Galtanger. You saw it. Can you leave me alone?
No, that was not you getting rejected. That was you rejecting Galtanger. You had your chance. You had Galtanger right there being like, hey, it's my Paragon, about time. And you said no. Here's my God jar. What's wrong with you? No, you know what rejected is, Dewey? When I found Scott and he decided, oh, let me just reach into your chest, pull out your heart, show it to you and say, no, I'm not your God. That's rejection, Dewey. That is what rejection looks like.
I think Dewey like tries to go to the other corner of the tent, but it's a one-person tent. So he sort of just like sits down in a corner of the tent and folds his arms.
Why, Dewey?
She doesn't want me, this Paragon. I know she doesn't. And yeah, the jar is not ideal. I don't know. I don't know why I can't do it.
Dewey, we don't get to choose, right? Do you think I would have chosen to be a Paragon? Do you think I would have chosen to have to do what we're apparently going to have to do these final 8 months of our lives?
No offense, V, but you live like you're dying anyways.
Dewey, I didn't get 110 years old by simply, I don't know, just trying to die. What are you gonna do? Like, what are you waiting for to do something worthwhile? Like, do something for yourself, for Andake, for your daughter?
Don't talk about my family.
What are you gonna do? Come on, what would your daughter think right now looking at you the way you are?
Don't.
Say it. Don't what?
What do you know about disappointing your family?
My mother died very, very, very long time ago. I've never known my father. During the carnival, I saw my father. You know how we all had our little own moments? And all he did was tell me how much of a disappointment I was. You know that we were being confronted by our greatest fears? My greatest fear? Being rejected by the one family member I have left in my life, possibly, that I've never met. Don't even know if he truly exists, don't know. Might be a dragon for all I know. You know what that's like?
I know what it's like to have a dragon in my life just as much as you know what it's like to have someone there who's you have to see every day and answer to every day.
Have you not seen Rev?
Rev's different.
Dewey, what's it gonna take? What are you so afraid of?
The last time I made a big decision to go work for the URL, they turned me into a monster. And I wasn't strong enough to realize it then, and I'm afraid I'm not strong enough now to know if I'm doing something wrong.
When you got hired by the URL, did you ask anybody around you if maybe this was a good idea?
No, they have a very strict non-disclosure policy.
Maybe that should have been your first red flag, Dewey. You've got several of us who you've known now for a while. We've saved each other's lives over and over and over again.
You have. The rest of you have. Whose life have I saved?
Okay, well, nobody's. But
Exactly.
we're waiting for you, Dewey, though.
It's been a year. Shouldn't I have done something miraculous to prove I'm a paragon by now? All I did was build a fucking vase. And then that got stolen. And I got betrayed by my friends. And then I built another one. And then I got rejected by a glowing cow. So...
Don't forget the part where you almost got me killed because of your friends.
Yes, I almost got everyone. Yeah, see, I did the opposite of saving the rest of your lives.
Supposedly you fought Sievert, though I still have no proof of it.
I didn't fight him, I just pissed him off enough that he left me alone.
Well, you know what? Pissing off Sievert is one minor victory.
This is a god shard we're talking about, though.
Yeah. This is your opportunity. The gods... Look, when I took Scott and Nectus into me, do you remember what I was like the first few days, weeks? I was nervous. I thought now I have to be, like, behaved. I have to, like, be something I'm not. I had all this pressure that I put on myself. And then I stole something from somebody and I felt so much better. So, you know, I'm still me. I still get to be Vasante Noxurzo. I still care and love Rev and Lotus. I've got friends, Oka, you. Even though I'm really, really pissed at you right now. I might even be Obiku's friend. I'm not sure yet. We're not full.
Not sure where any of us stand there.
V reaches into a little pouch that she's got on her waist, and she got like a full, really neatly folded up couple pieces of paper, and she unfolds it and she hands it to Dewey.
Oh no, is this a contract?
Dewey would read like the first lines that says the last will and testament of Vasante Noxurzo on it.
What is this?
This is my will for...
Yeah, I can...
After this is all said and done and we've died, read the last paragraph. And at the last paragraph says, to Hana Quirk, I leave in a trust all of my gold, jewelry, deeds, and any profits from my business. I may never meet you, but you're the hope for our future. May this serve you well.
What is this? A joke?
No. When I die, whatever valuable stuff I still own, assuming it still exists, I'm giving it to your kid. The best thing you can ever do is die for your loved ones.
I think maybe on that, with like Dewey studying this letter, looking at V's surprisingly genuine face, we are going to cut away from the interior of this tent to the exterior of the camp itself. where we find Rev. She's sort of like hunched over in front of, I think, like the campfire that sort of dwindled down, maybe like a stray wind from the hunter's big stomp like blew it out in the fight, and she's in the middle of like rekindling it, right? Not with magic, but with just flint. Flint and some tinder that she's gathered, and she's striking the flint, sort of hunched over, her big feather-dappled obsidian cape fluttering in like the dusty breeze behind her. And Abiku, it's just you and Rev out there while V and Dewey have a kind of loud argument inside Dewey's tent. What do you do?
Do you want me to just... do you want help with the fire? I could just light it.
You know, I could just light it with a little bit of magic as well, but there's something about making something with your own hands that just feels better. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do, actually. Yes, that is something that makes sense to me.
Do you mind bringing those logs over here?
Oh, yes, of course. Sorry. Get up, goes get the logs. Should we check on them? They, like, gestures to the tent.
Rev looks askance at the tent and then glances back at you, Abiku, and says, they're fine. We've argued a lot in the past. Our party is no stranger to disagreements within our group, as you'll come to understand. They'll work it out.
Oh, okay, that is good. I'm still so... It was just so different when I was with the other people, and I clearly have a lot to learn. But as long as everyone is okay, I guess it is okay. It's just a lot of yelling for friends. But I guess I don't remember what having a friend is like, so who am I? Thank you for earlier.
You're welcome. I don't know why, Sun looked like they were in trouble. And V, well, she was also in trouble, but I had a feeling she could handle herself. I mean, I love her and I'd do anything to protect her, but she can also kick ass. And I just wanted to make sure that your pet, was okay.
A friend, yes, no, V is very... the fire thing, that was... I cannot do that. That is kind of scary. And Sun is just... I don't know how old they are, but it feels like they are young. When they talk, I guess you don't hear them talk, but it feels like talking to someone young, so I thank you.
Rev sort of sits back down, and I think, like, after you've brought the logs over, she has struck a little bit of flame, and the fire takes, and the tongues of flame sort of lick hungrily over to the logs, and soon you hear, like, crackling and popping as, like, flames start sizzling. You smell the burning of wood smoke, and Rev sort of sits back on her, like, haunches and, like, looks at you. You know, Abiku, when I first woke up, I had forgotten how complicated the world was. All I really understood was rage and pain and death and killing. There was no room in myself or my heart for anything else like joy or love or all the nuances that come with vengeance. But after meeting V and Oka and Manaya and Dewey, I've come to embrace those complications. It's a part of being alive, or at the very least not dead. No one's right or wrong all the time. But I do know that killing the myriad is important to me, in the same way that finding a way out of this mess is important to Dewey. So when Dewey gets in the way of my journey, of course I'm gonna get pissed, I'm gonna get mad. And I'm allowed to be mad at him. You know what I mean? Just like how he's allowed to sulk right now when his plans don't work out.
Yes, I have been... I know I am strange, so follow me, please. Not literally, like figuratively. I know I talk very
no,
literally.
I got that, yeah.
Do you sleep?
Sleep, for me, is optional,
but it makes me a more alert fighter, I found. Unfortunately, whenever I do sleep, I'm sure you learned this from Vaska and Costas, I am afflicted by the same recurring nightmare.
Yes, I asked that because sleep is... I do not sleep. I have not tried, but it doesn't work, but you have a lot of extra time to think when you don't sleep, and I did not mean to upset you or V or Dewey or anyone. You mentioned when you woke up. When I woke up, I didn't have rage or vengeance or joy or hunger or thirst or anything, really. I woke up, sun greeted me, I asked where we were and who they were, and they were not sure. I found my bow, it had a name, I assumed that was my name, and we started walking because I didn't know what else to do. I don't think I used my voice until the doctor found me, and I don't think I experienced an emotion until I had to leave the homestead the first time. I'm trying to figure it out, and I guess I just thought if I'm being helpful, then I'm not being hurtful, but I still have a lot to figure out.
There's no god of fate in Andake, Abiku. We speak of destiny often. I learned in too long that dream prophets think of fate as a river, one with divergences, places in time when we decide the kind of person we're gonna be and the kind of world we want to create. But outside of those divergences, fate just flows and there's no correcting a river from its course. So I don't know if it's destiny that brought you back, Abiku, or maybe just sheer plain coincidence. But whatever it is, I'm glad you're here. What's important to you?
What's important to me?
Yeah, vengeance is important to me. Figuring a way out of his own destiny, I think is important to Dewey. Love is important to V. Family's important to Oka. What's important to you?
I think it sits quiet for a moment, but I will not make people sit through me sitting here quietly. And looks across at the fire, looks to Rev. I want to prove that I'm better than whatever I was before.
What makes you think you were bad before?
I did not share this when I had the vision or memory or whatever it was, but I remembered a battlefield and there were people getting hurt and
what kind of battlefield? Bloody, red, eyes, wings?
No, it was bloody. People had... No, it was not your dream.
Oh.
It's...
Sorry,
There were people that were, like, turning into dragons and other people that were very, taller than me. And I was killing a lot of people, apparently. I killed 52 people that day, alone. I apparently used to have a lot of friends, but they all liked me because I killed very good. And looks at Rev, I don't want to just kill very good.
What do you want then?
I want to help people, and sometimes that means you have to fight things and gestures to where the huntsman was, and sometimes you have to protect people, but it is different to fight the monsters that we fight. I was killing people.
Sounds like you were a soldier during wartime. Andake hasn't seen war in over 400 years. And before that, Not since the Gambit of Queens, and before that, not since the 1,000-year war between dragons and giants. Abiku, you're a good markswoman. You're a fantastic sharpshooter. That's very obvious to me. You know your way around a bow. The power you have, the same power that lets you kill, is the exact same power that lets you protect. Power in and of itself, I don't think it's a bad thing. The Raven Queen, fate, decreed that she would choose me, and for a long time I didn't really know what that meant until I had something worthy to protect. Until I had V. And she looks down at, like, the wedding ring, like, on her finger, right? And I think now I know, for me, what I'm gonna use my power for, and it's to protect the people I love, and to protect the people who don't have the same power as me. So yeah, you could use that bow to kill people. Innocents, other soldiers, or you could use it to fight the stranger and help us. No one else can take that decision from you.
It is never a doubt in my mind. I will help you all fight because I can do it, and if I can do it, then why not do it for that sake alone? But I struggle with the other part. You all have something. I mean, you have V, and V has you, and you have other people, and Dewey has a family, and everyone has all these connections, and I've made friends, and I've made connections, but it is weird to not remember what it is like to love, but to know you don't have it.
There's a pause, and like Rev, sort of her face lit by the flickering flames across the fire from you, studies you very closely, right? One black eye, one gold eye. And after a while, she says, "The only thing I knew when I woke up was vengeance. Vengeance and grief. Because I had lost someone. I'd lost someone I loved with my entire heart, and she was not coming back. So, if you can't remember who you were, or what mattered to you, Abiku, let's help you find it, huh? Let's help you remember."
If you think you have time, you are all quite busy. We have to find Galtenga again for Dewey, and then there's this whole stranger thing, but if you think you have time... Abiku is like looking... She is trying to not show Rev that she is crying.
Rev just sort of like lets you sort of like fumble onward, I think, and like very like chivalrously like doesn't acknowledge that you're crying right in front of her. But she does sort of like silently like hand you a stick that she's been using to prod at the fire. You know, she hands you the stick so you can manage the fire, and she says, "Yeah, of course. Galtenga first. Hey, and if you get any more visions, I think it's safe to say that we don't distrust you in the same way that we used to anymore. You can share those visions with us. And if you don't feel comfortable sharing them with Dewey or V, I'm always here."
Oh, okay, so yeah, there was 52 people, there were giants, and there were dragons, and I think it was that war you keep talking about.
The 1,000-year war. Yeah, I'm still trying to wrap my head around the fact that you came back from over, what, like 10,000 years ago? That's a lot.
Yes, I would... That seems like a big number. I will be honest, I did not learn... The doctor and me only got to about 150 in mathematics.
Counting lessons, right? Okay, yeah. Listen, if you get any visions or dreams again, I'm an open ear.
Oh, okay. I appreciate that. It was
Anytime.
really cool what you did with the safe. That was...
Yeah, I know. Grimm's pretty badass.
It's a cool trick.
I think like the conversation like awkwardly peters out, or like turns toward like Rev. She summons Grimm and like shows you, like hands you the scythe and like shows you how cool Grimm is, right? And I think it's at this point that like we fade out of this scene. Did y'all hear C sneeze?
Yes.
Let me retry that. Let me retry that because I don't want that to be caught on camera. The dawn comes, as it always does, gray and cold and sunless. The fur-lined flap of a gur ripples open and a tall, muscular, half-orc woman steps into the early dawn. She ties her black hair back in practical braids, and behind her we see a massive hill bristling with trees casting a long shadow over her clan's camp, a colorful collection of gurs, tents, and fences. And as the woman approaches a wooden stable, she shrugs on a thick, fur-lined cape, her breath escaping her tusked mouth in thick plumes of white. Also approaching the pen is a short and chubby Earth Genasi woman. Her smooth gray skin shines like marble, veined with harmless cracks, and her hair is made of vines peppered by winter flowers. The Genasi hands the half-orc a bucket of feed, but before either of them can get to their horses, the ground trembles. The clanmates exchange a surprised and anxious look, and then we see it. In the distance, but stampeding closer and closer with every passing moment, not yet darkened by the massive shadow of this hill, is the great herd. Hundreds strong, dust ballooning in its wake, a menagerie of horses, cows, zebras, elephants, rhinos, deer, any and every kind of creature in Kheer Tal and beyond, trampling over the earth, hides foaming with sweat, running. A desperate chorus of whinnies erupts from this stall, and like the howling of a lone wolf, this noise is contagious, and it spreads to the next stall over and the next and the pen after that until this clan's entire camp is rent asunder with the noise of bellowing and straining animals, and the half-orc pulls the Genasi out of the way just in time as wood explodes from the stall they were approaching, and we see frenzied horses and cows and donkeys and sheep breaking free of their pens, galloping toward that free-running herd in the near distance. Urgent shouts break through this camp as people stumble out of their gurs, pulling on boots, shrugging on scarves and jackets, running after their animals, but it's too late. The village gathers at the western edge of their camp, the half-orc and the Genasi clustered amongst them, and they watch powerlessly as their animals and their livelihood, their friends, their companions, race down the sloping grass to heed the call of Galtanger. Dewey, you, Abiku, V, and Rev have been riding your own horses for 2 days and 2 nights now. It's the dawn of the 3rd day, following the telltale tracks of the hunter and the herd. Your party, thankfully, is faster than both the lumbering hunter, which only appears at night, and the herd, which is bogged down by hundreds of members. And it's very likely that you'll catch up to the herd, which had a head start on you, in the next day, maybe 2. And it's at this moment, I think, that your party crests a small slope to see a valley sweeping out underneath you. And the massive, kind of vast Urk River glimmers like a silver snake far, far to the north, just on the horizon, this glimmer. One of its many tributaries sort of branching off to feed this dale. And it's at this moment where at the center of this shallow basin of this valley, you see a hill, almost a small mountain, actually, with a Kyrian village clustered at its base, where you see gurs and tents and shacks and pens and stalls and fences, etc., just all over. Quite a large village, actually. And the air here is sharp and hard, kind of like the surface of a frozen lake. And you sort of crest this slope and you see this village kind of in your path, like on your way to following the herd. What do?
Do we have time to see if they need help?
I think so. I think that's a good idea. We should keep track of all the villages that keep losing their animals, because like someone's gonna have to return these horses eventually.
Right, and what's to stop some random Agon from lying about how many horses they had before?
Right. You've been writing this down, right, Rev?
What? You're the guy with glasses.
What is that? What?
You like I haven't been writing this down. You haven't, but this is your adventure, Dewey, okay? This is your journey. You're supposed to be noting all this shit down.
I've got bigger things to be worried about than...
What, than helping innocent people?
Aren't you the one who's been getting on my ass about accepting a god shard? I don't.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean we can just ignore everyone who needs help on the way. That's not what being a hero is about, right, V?
Yeah, Dewey. That's not what being a hero is about. And actually, V's got her notebook, and she's actually been keeping track of everything in her journal.
V, good job. I color me surprised, actually, but impressed.
You know, who would have thought I'd be the responsible one here in the group?
Thanks, V. Are you sure you've been getting the numbers right?
Ballpark.
V, make an intelligence check for me to see how well you've been getting the numbers right.
You know what? I'm not even gonna try to use a luck point. Let me see what my modifiers. Intelligence. I don't think. Yeah, 0. So that's gonna be a 4.
I think maybe like your journals are just numbers. You've just written like a really general ballparks, or like what else do we see when you like open up your journal?
Yeah, so it's a lot of like sketches of V and Rev and Lotus, like just in the margins, and just like 20-ish cows, 10-ish horses, and northwest, west village.
Yeah. Rev like leans over and looks and says, "Hey, I remember that village. They didn't have any cows, V."
What did
you see those?
What would you call them? I thought they.
Let me show Dewey. Alex, she takes the journal from you and hands it to you, Dewey.
Why are there so many drawings of? These aren't records. This is just your little sketchbook of you and Oh my god, you're such a liar.
Hey, how many numbers do you have written down?
Exactly. At least she's trying. Have you even been keeping track of any of this?
Well, I have a suggestion. When we stop the herd, I can just ask them where they live.
There's an idea!
You're right, Abiku. That's actually really smart. Thank you. You know what? This was our plan all along. If the Kagan asks, we had this situation under lock and key.
From the very beginning. That's why we brought the Bikus, to talk to animals.
Thank you, Abiku. That actually helps a lot.
Yes, I guess I planned to do that because people can lie, but animals just want to go home. But you didn't think of this?
Oh no, I totally thought from the very beginning. I was testing you. You passed.
Oh.
You did such a good job.
That makes
nice
sense.
to see someone contribute to the party.
You are wise paragons. It makes sense that you would think of it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Rev kind of leans in on her horse, like over to V. I don't feel great about lying to Abiku. It's kind of like taking candy from a baby.
It's not lying if you believe it to be true. That's how I do it.
No wonder you're such a good charlatan, V. Dewey, isn't there something you'd like to say to Abiku for her contribution to your quest?
Thank you, Abiku. As always, the most valuable member.
Oh, I don't know about that, but I am happy to help you. You are on something very important and apparently very difficult for you. So any way I can make it easier for yourself to, have a very painful transformation and have to die one day.
Thanks, Abiku.
You're welcome.
Right, you know what? Let's go to the village and see how many cows they've missed, and we can be on our merry way. Hey? And Rev squeezes the flank of her horse, and her horse starts going down the slope toward the hill in the valley. And as the rest of you follow, I think we cut to your party getting to the edge of this village, and I think you fall within the shade of this massive mountain. Not a massive mountain; it's a really big hill, very covered in these bristling trees. There seems to be some sort of structure at the peak, but at this point, in the at the base of it, it's kind of hard to tell what it is. And even from your slope from before, you were too far away to really see anything at the top of this peak. But now that you're closer, you see some sort of structure, but it looks maybe burnt down or a ruin or something. And as you approach, you notice that all the pens sort of on the edges of the village, the wood of the fence have been like cracked and broken. And you see like clear evidence of like the domesticated animals here like kind of losing their shit and like breaking down the pens and like trampling like all over the grass and like all the way down and out of the valley toward where the herd was galloping parallel to this village. And you just see people like milling about, like they're conferring in low tones. Like the atmosphere here is like super frustrated and like almost like a miasma of despair or like deep like dissatisfaction and like almost like hopelessness has like fallen over the people here. You see like a couple of kids sort of like looking at this like broken pen, looking up at their parent and like being like, where did all the animals go, Mom? And like, you know, their parents like, don't worry, the Kagan will sort things out, dear. And like pulling them away from like the pen. And as your party begins to travel through, I think like people like turn and like look up at you and they like start muttering amongst themselves because you look like travelers, right? And it's at this point that a tiefling person with these like, you hear clop, 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 clop. And you see that tiefling person has like these cloven hooves. They're not wearing any like shoes. They almost look kind of like a half satyr or something. They like clop up to your party immediately and they're like waving their arms really erratically. And they've got like tattoos covering every inch of their body. Like these colorful, like black and also like other colored tattoos just all over their face and their arms and their hands. And they've got these like these two like stubby kind of like goat-like horns that just peek out at like an abject angle from their forehead, and these like horizontal like goat-like pupils, but they wave and they like trample over, right? And they're like, I think like a retinue is with them, like that look like townspeople that are also like hustling along. And you notice that a couple of the people here are also heavily tattooed like this tiefling and look like this tiefling. So you assume like maybe they're family members or something. This tiefling arrives waving their arms and they say, hello, hi, did the Kalgon send you? Oh, we've been needing munitions for over a week now. Are they finally here? I don't see a supply wagon with you.
No.
Oh.
It's okay, it's even better. We've got the Paragon here. We've got
the Kagon's here? Where? Everyone, talk to a Kagon is here. Places.
No. Shh. Apparently you didn't hear. Our friend Cardu Quark here is the Paragon of Galtang or not.
Huh?
There was a little misunderstanding, and it's being cleared up, and this is the real Paragon here, our friend Dewey Quirk.
I think the entire village, which, like, their spirits had picked up for half a second, they were, like, starting to scramble and, like, going into their girths to, like, grab things, and they all pause, right? And there's, like, a little semicircle around you, right, on this, like, kind of, like, grassy path, like, in the middle of their town. And this tiefling goes, that's not the Paragon of Galtanger. Everyone knows Toktoa Kagon is the Paragon of Galtanger.
No, she lied.
She didn't. No. So here's the deal. She's letting Dewey Quirk be the Paragon. We're gonna stop the herd. It's gonna be fantastic. And if for whatever reason things don't go well, then Toktoa will be here then and clean everything up. It'll be wonderful too. But let's give our friend Dewey Quirk an opportunity to prove himself as the Paragon.
I don't understand what, and then one of, like, the aides of this person, like, walks up to them and, like, whispers in their ear, in Kyrian. Do any of you speak or understand Kyrian?
It's not one of my languages.
Okay. They, like, whisper something in, like, in these, like, choppy, kind of, like, powerful, tones. And then this tiefling person pauses. Oh. And, like, their aide sort of breaks away, and this person looks at you and they say, pardon my misinterpretation. I didn't realize that the Kagon's sellswords were here. Yes, news has reached us of allies to the Alliance? Alliance? Ally Alliance? Well, whatever you call it. Helping Toktoa Kagon with some of her business. That must be the three of you. We were told of outsiders to the clans. Must be you. Well, welcome. Not as good as a direct visit from the Kagon, but better than nothing. I am Udam Agon. And the tiefling sort of does like a kind of like, like ostentatious bow, like hands up, like tail curled, and they like straighten up again. I am the Agon of the Turai clan here. at the base of the Golden Hill. And they like gesture to the hill behind them. In summer, really, it's gold because the trees are special and they have, long story. Welcome. You come from Toktoa Kagan's camp. Do you have any, why hasn't she sent any munitions over? They were due over a week ago. They promised us. We were spared the draft, so we could continue protecting the Golden Hill, of course, which the Kagan agreed was the right thing to do. They promised to send more fighters to clear the tomb and to bring munitions to us on a weekly basis, but we've been missing munitions for a week and we're starting to get hungry. We're running low. What gives?
What tomb?
Well, the tomb of Karvach. And they gesture back up at the Golden Hill. If you were claiming to be the paragon of Galtanger, surely you would know that the ancestral burial site of Karvach Turai, paragon of Galtanger, is right here. You know,
Yes.
I'm actually descended from her.
I know this. Could you explain for the my mercenary?
Abiku raises. Yes, I understood one of the words you said, which was tomb.
Yes, the entire hill, the inside of it is a tomb to Karvach Turai. But lately it's been overrun with monsters and beasts, you know, because of the cataclysm. And our fighters are doing their best to clear it out, but Toktoa Kagan said that she'd send some to help us. But they're not here, so you were just talking with her. What's changed? What's happened?
Did she did she tell me anything?
No, but Abiku, as you reflect on your nights of passion with Toktoa in her camp, I think there was a moment where like maybe y'all were like making out like not directly on the mattress, and like you maybe like kind of stumbled against like her war table, and she stopped. Like she stopped making out with you to like re-put the figures back exactly where they were. And she was like, it's very important that the figures here on this map are not messed up. Let's take our passions elsewhere. And she like redirected you somewhere else. And I think like, you're like, that's maybe like the only reason why. Like if her map got messed up, maybe.
I think inside of V's bag with the gold horse statue.
Abiku, not knowing about the gold horse statue, I think she goes, "Oh, I think it is my fault. I am sorry."
Your fault? Aren't you just a sellsword? I don't understand what's happening here.
It is a long story that I don't think the Toktoa would want you to know about just yet, but I can get you some food. I am a good hunter.
Well, we still have some munitions. It's really, the main thing is the monsters in the hill, and the food would be nice, but we were spared the draft, so we can do a little bit of hunting, but our entire herds are gone now because the great herd came by, and everything is just so stressful. And like the tiefling like pulls at their hair, and you swear you could hear like their scalp like wrinkle a little, from the stress, and like the aide comes over and like whispers something in their ear again, and they go, thank you, and they like calm down, take deep breaths.
I think V casts a message to Dewey and be like, now is your time to act like a paragon.
Dewey, as you receive this message, Rev actually leans in to you, V, and says, V?
Yes, my love?
Can I see that horse figurine?
Which one? I've got 8 of them.
V?
Yes, my love?
You know the one I'm talking about.
V is like very like looks off and like fumbles. She feels one. She's looking down. There's like one for this area, one for that area, one. Oh shoot! And then slowly hands it to Rev.
Rev takes this particular golden horse statue and like flips it upside down and shows it to your party. So it's not just you. And Abiku and Dewey, the two of you see that the bottom of this horse figurine is carved the name Karvach.
Where did you get that?
Oh, so it was not my fault. That is good. Oof.
Why would it have been your...
Why?
Yeah, what?
When did you talk?
We did not do a lot of talking.
Okay, you know what? You can spare us the details. I think the people deserve to know why the munitions aren't coming, and I don't think it's a good idea to pin it on Toktoa.
Okay. V like takes the figurine back and it's a very pretty horse though.
It is.
All right. Well, good news, bad news.
No more bad news, please. We can't handle any more. We don't have any munitions. Our sacred tomb is overrun with monsters, and all our entire livelihood just ran away from us.
Okay, yes. Understandable. You're very stressed. We sympathize. It isn't that you've been forgotten about. It's just that in some hustle and bustle and a lot going on in Andake right now, some pieces had to be moved here and there in life, and priorities had to be shifted. But good news! We are here to fix this.
Really?
I mean, our Paragon of Galtanger, Dewey Quirk, has been sent to make everything right.
All the townspeople's, all of their eyes like fall upon you, Dewey, as V gestures at you.
Dewey's looking at V and gives her just the dirtiest look, and then he turns and he's like, yes, I'm here to fix everything.
Rev goes, why are you pitching your voice lower?
Shut up! I'm trying to... We're here to clear the tomb and fight the monsters or whatever, okay?
Make a charisma check.
Can I help? Like, because I...
Yeah, you know what? Because you jazzed him up. Yeah, you have advantage. You have
trying to
advantage. I think it counts.
14
Total?
Yes.
There is
modifiers.
a smattering of limp applause, like amongst, I think like maybe led by Abiku, I don't know, like amongst like the townspeople, the clan, the Agon, Udon, does not clap along and just looks around and the clapping dies down. And they go, well, okay, I guess the 4 of you is better than nothing. We were expecting a convoy, munitions of at least 15, 20 soldiers strong, but okay. I mean, if the Kagan sent the 4 of you personally as sellswords, then you must be pretty good, huh? Because the Kagan has good judgment. And like everyone's like looking around and nodding. They're like, yeah, if the Kagan sent them, they must be good. And they're like nodding, and there's like, like more and more clapping and cheering, but like for the Kagan at that. and
I think V is going with that, yeah, Kagan, woo, yeah. We'll deal with this later.
I'm very disappointed in you, V.
Like Rev leans over and is like saying to you,
look, they were just pretty gold horses, and I don't know why I do what I do. I just risk and reward, babe.
Yeah, and this is a risk that is not quite paying up. Yes, Kagan, yes. And like Rev goes back to like clapping as well. And when the clapping dies down, Udam Agon says, okay, well, I think if you really wanted to make this right, the first most important point of order is to clear out those monsters from the Golden Hill. They've been desecrating my ancestors' sacred burial site. Of course, the funeral pyre where her remains were cremated is on top of the Golden Hill, but the tomb is within. The only entrance into the hill, though, is from the peak.
Wait, so we have to go to the top to get to the bottom? To go to the top?
You have to get to the top to get to the bottom. And the very bottom of the hill is where the biggest chamber is. I mean, her body was cremated, so Kyrian tradition, we don't like to bury our dead under the ground because, I mean, that's where our horses are going to trample over them. We like to send them up to the sky, to Galtanger. But we put offerings inside the hill, inside the tomb, every year, every week. We haven't been able to since the Cataclysm, though.
How do you know has someone been inside the tomb and seen the monsters, or do you just hear the monsters?
There's kind of like a grim feeling falls over the people, and you see someone like sort of turn their face away and look like they're trying not to cry. And the Agan goes, no, we've lost people. It's pretty obvious. There are beasts within the tomb.
Well, it's a good time as any for us to, show you what we're made of, and we've saved parts of Andake worse than this, I promise you.
Yeah, we've beaten up.
Do the finger point.
We have beaten up monsters, all of us collectively, and no big deal. We'll take care of it for you.
Really?
Which way is it?
straight up there. Thank you so much. You should probably leave your horses at the peak though, or you can lash them here. They just won't be able to fit.
Abiku gets off her horse. Okay.
Yeah, I think we'll just go ahead and get off them.
This is the way. After all, it is tradition to only climb to the peak on foot.
Are you sure your fence posts are gonna hold this time with our horses?
The herd galloped past us, so unless it decides to turn around for some reason, your horses should be fine. Now, don't worry. We're Kyrians. We know how to take care of horses.
I mean, they all ran off. Okay. Yeah, we won't be gone long, hopefully. And Dewey gets off his horse and hesitantly hands his the reins to.
Yeah, like a couple of people immediately step forward to like bring the horses away, and they like, like at the horses, and they produce apples and like little bits of granola, and the horses like very happily chomp at them. As the horses are being led away, your pony sort of shoots you a baleful look, like, why haven't you ever given me an apple? As it's led away, like over its shoulder. And Rev goes, it's actually nice to stretch my legs, riding for days now.
I couldn't even tell. Look at me, I'm so used to horses now. I'm just like, I could do that for a few more months, right?
Well, you are good at right.
All right.
It felt familiar, so maybe I used to ride horses?
Yes, maybe in your past life. Let's leave these poor townsfolk behind and do what we're good at, which is to kill horrible empty monsters, huh? It was great to meet you, Udam, Agan, and we're gonna get to the bottom of this. Literally. Bottom of the hill from the top.
Oh,
that is funny. That's a joke.
Thank you, Abiku.
That's funny. I know I did not.
Right.
I know I did not laugh. I don't laugh a lot, but I find things funny, and I think it's funny. But people think it's just genuine.
You know what, Abiku, you can just like Rev's like motioning for you to cut it out. And I think like you're having this conversation as like the four of you like tramp off toward the base of the hill, and as like Udam, Agan, like and like their retinue like sees you off, they wave, and then like without any of you hearing, Udam Agan goes, "Yeah, they're totally gonna die." And we cut back, I think, to the four of you. I think you're like walking up the hill, right? And it's as you're going up it, you're like, damn, this hill is a lot bigger than it looks. Because it did look large, but it's going to take you maybe at least like a cool 20, 30 minutes to get to the top, right? And like everything's hard and kind of frosted over from winter. There's like scraggly trees growing out kind of like at an angle on various like radical slopes. There is like a trail, but it's a rather narrow trail and like goes up a series of switchbacks for like a hot second with like no railing, right? So I'm just going to ask for just an athletics check from all of you. Oh, 8. God. 8 from Dewey.
4.
What did you get, V?
I rolled a nat 1, and then I used a luck point, and then I rolled another nat 1.
Okay, Rev got a 23.
Life, baby. We got used to horse life.
You did get used to horse life. Okay, this is a sad picture. So why don't each of the three of you tell me, like, why it's so sad? Like, why is getting up this hill, like, the hardest fucking thing you've had to do so far this arc? Let's start with the Biku.
I think it's, like... I think I just, like, I was really into writing on something, it felt. And so I think she's, like, not focusing on walking efficiently, which is like a thing, right? So she's like straining too much on the hill, and she thought it was going to be like shorter because you were far away in perspective, and so she was like kind of jogging. She's like, oh shit, I have to like, there's like a lot more hill. So that's her thing.
Oh my god. What about you, Dewey?
I think that it's like a little bit like frosted over, right? So Dewey, I think within the first 5 minutes slips and falls and gets like the wind knocked out of him, and he insists he's fine, but you just hear like pathetic like wheezing the rest of the way up.
Oh my god, I love that. And what about V's double nat 1?
So V's gonna be like, hey, everything's fine. This is great. Just a little jog up a hill. And I think she's really just leaping from here to there, on top of a boulder, off of a boulder. And as she jumps off of one of the boulders, the Tola hits a patch of ice. She flips over onto her back, boom. But then it's so steep that she starts to go forward and tumbles forward and almost to the back of the, she loses time. She falls way past the group and almost to the bottom of the hill again, and has to retrace her steps.
Rev is fine. But she is so annoyed. She is so annoyed by all three of you. She has to wait, and I think you lose time because she's busy chastising all three of you. She's concerned about V, but then when sees V is uninjured, gets annoyed, and irritated. And I think we see an image of the four of your faces, the three of you specifically, cresting finally the edge of this hill, and you're panting and wheezing. You drag yourselves onto the peak. And the light is disappearing from the sky by this point. It was 9 a.m., 10 a.m. when you got here, and it's 7 p.m. Hours have elapsed. You've wasted so much time getting to the peak of this mountain. You drag yourselves up onto the top, and Rev is just pacing around going, oh, okay, I guess we're gonna go dungeon delving at night.
It's really the best time. I mean, we're gonna be inside of tombs. I mean, what's it matter if it's bright outside, not bright outside?
Empty beasts thrive in the dark, V. But it's okay. It's okay. We've got 3 paragons, 2 of whom are realized, and a Biku, who's great with a bow and will be in very narrow, cramped tunnels with us, which I'm sure will be fine with a bow.
I have a sword too.
No. Are you good with a sword?
I mean, I'm okay with a sword. It's not a bow, but I also have swords. I just don't use them because I use a bow.
Okay. All right. Well, we've got an archer using a sword. We've got Dewey, who's completely out of breath. We've got V, who I'm pretty sure got a concussion from going tits over ass. And we've got me.
Wanna lead the charge?
We have Sun. Now that we're up here, I can bring Sun with us.
That's true. Actually, Sun will be great. Do you mind summoning Sun now so we don't have to do it when we're down there?
Yeah, sure. And she'll summon Sun.
It's you do it so casually, but it's so badass. You're
I won't belabor the cutscene every time, but the cutscene happens every time for the viewer at home, but...
It's a magical girl transformation as Sun comes out, right? Do 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 do, right? And the magical sigil coming out of the earth, and poof, Sun lands, and Rev just goes, "I'm never gonna get sick of that. That's amazing every time."
Oh, thank you. Sun also says thank you.
A Sun in your head goes, "Thank you, Rev." Rev turns and sets her sights on the very peak of the top of this hill. And you all see what looks like maybe a ruin from far below, up now close and personal. And you see it is a ruin. It is an ancient wooden ruin that by magic or just by sheer love by the villagers at its base has been kept mostly intact. It's the remnants of a funeral pyre. You see just these huge wooden logs built up high, maybe 10 feet tall, 15 feet tall. And there's charred wood at the top. The wood looks ancient. And you feel the weave sort of kind of pulling a little bit tight around this pyre as you get close to it, and you get the sense that it's enchanted with magic that prevents it from decaying or something like that, or giving it protection against the elements. And there's sort of a stone inscription at the base, written in Kyrian.
Okay, I will cast Comprehend Languages, because this is annoying.
Okay, how does that work for you?
I think Dewey, he had put his glasses in his bag because he kept falling, didn't want to ruin them, so he grabs them out of his bag and puts them back on and flips on the Kyrian lens.
It's a golden lens that goes over, and you look at it and you're able to as you sweep your eyes over it, the words become legible to you. And it's essentially an inscription talking about how this is the funeral pyre of Karvach Turai, paragon of Galtanger, right? Protector of the Golden Hill, right? Slayer of the Queen of the Valley. A bunch of titles and talking about Karvach's great deeds and whatnot. At the bottom is a set of instructions. And it says, if you wish to pay your respects and enter the tomb,
Name the thing which sets you free.
I turn to the rest of the party and I pose the question. It wants us to name the thing that sets you free in order to get in? Like a password to the doors?
Like the thing that holds you back?
Like the opposite of that.
Yes.
Well, if it's the thing that sets you free, it's like the thing that... Well, okay, so what I mean is like, everybody has like a thing, right? That like makes them feel happy, for a lack of better term, like free. And so it wants that thing. But for some people, that's the thing that holds them back, because being free can be scary if you can just do whatever.
Rev steps forward without listening to any of you, right? In front of the stone inscription on this grassy knoll in front of this huge pyre, right? That still almost seems like still smoldering. And she just says, love. And there's like a pillar of golden light that shoots out from like the winter grass underneath her. And like it completely like swallows her up, and from a distance, like from the base of the camp, we see like a massive pillar of light just like shooting up into the sky and poof, disappearing into the gray sky. And back at the peak, Rev disappears.
Oh,
see, like that.
Isn't she so smart? And V like walks up. I think V in a very smart alecky tone's like, gold.
Nothing happens.
Love.
Is that true, V?
Absolutely. It wouldn't be at all rectifying meeting my dragon father, no.
Is love truly the thing that sets V free?
Yeah, I think it came off in like a really, sarcastic tone, but yeah, no. If it wasn't for love, she wouldn't be who she is right now.
There's another poof, as like another pillar of golden light like ensconces V and like punches up through the atmosphere and poof, disappears into the cloud, and V's gone.
Dewey steps up and he says, love, is there only one password to this thing?
Nothing happens.
It has to be the thing for you. Like, it's love for Rev and it's love for V. But it's not love for you. You have a lot going on,
Fine, what is Hugo then? And Dewey moves aside.
Oh, I do not know what it is for me. I will probably have to wait out here.
No, there's no way you're not coming in with us.
Oh, I mean, I had a hold. I do not know. I'm still figuring that out. So I can't give it an answer because I don't know, and I can't lie to it.
Sun sort of sits down at your feet and looks up at you and cocks like their skull head to the side, and you hear their voice resonate in your head and say, why don't you just say that then, Abiku? Knowing who you are, do you think that will set you free?
Oh, you're so smart. And Abiku walks past Dewey. she says out loud, you're so smart, and walks past Dewey.
Me?
Yes, you are smart too. I do not know. It would be nice to know what set me free.
And poof, a huge pillar of light like shoots up both around you and Sun, and you disappear. And it's just Dewey.
Dewey goes to stand where Abiku was standing and was like, can I also say that I don't know yet? Isn't that the point of this whole quest?
You look hopefully at the stone tablet, and I don't think anything happens, Dewey.
Fuck. So I have to do my introspection right here, right now, huh? Can we cut to like the other side where everyone's just like waiting for like...
Yeah, I think like Dewey, as you're standing there, like, as like a Schitt's Creek moment where like there's just nothing to say and like wind's just blowing and you're standing there. We like pan down through like layers of sediment and rock and dirt and stone and wiggling worms and buried bones, right? And cobwebs, and poof, we enter into a chamber where we see Rev like glimmer into existence. Whoa. And then V right next to her, and then poof, Abiku. Hey, gods, is it dark in here? And you notice that you're in kind of like a chamber, rather small chamber, maybe only big enough to hold 10 people max. And it's just sort of like a circular chamber with, I think, torches mounted in sconces on either side. And it takes you a minute to realize that the torches emit no heat. It seems to be some sort of magical, ever-glowing flame just on either side. And like the walls are carved with like a traditional Kyrian art style of just like galloping horses. Right. And like soaring eagles and like prancing antelopes and whatnot, like all the way down a tunnel that leads into darkness, like directly in front of you.
So, how long do we wait for? Do we think Dewey's going to make it? He has a lot going on. Someone should have stayed with him.
Well, we can't do this without Dewey. This is Carvach's tomb. I mean, he's got to be able to have some sort of connection with the past Paragon, right?
I mean, I didn't really get the connection till after I got Scott and Nectus.
I mean, there's a pause, and Rev says, I've never told anyone this, but at the weave-spun nest, when I was accepting the Raven Queen into my soul, I saw visions of Pascal. So, I don't know, maybe Dewey will see visions of Carvach if he comes down here. We can't plunge this dungeon without him.
Is there a way, can we go back to the top and someone like waits with Dewey? Because
how do we get...
I worry he won't come.
Love. And there's like a beam of light again, and Rev disappears from within the chamber, and Dewey, as you're standing there like thinking, there's a beam of light shoots up from the earth again, and Rev reappears. Dewey, what's taking you so long?
Dewey's got his like notebooks out and he's like flipping through and he's like looking at the tablet and he's like, is it answers? Is it like just trying out keywords?
Dewey, you're not gonna find the answer in your notebooks. Just tell the truth. What's gonna set you free?
I don't know. If I knew it, it would probably be somewhere in my notes.
Rev like pauses and then takes like a step toward you. Look, maybe I'm not the right person to give you this pep talk, Dewey, out of all of us, but I'm here, I guess. So if anyone else wants to come up here, she's like shouting down at the ground, up here to help me, be my guest. Dewey, what are you scared of?
A lot of things. Have you met me?
I don't just mean like snakes and spiders and the myriad. I mean, what really scares you? Laying in your bed alone at night, staring up at the ceiling, up at the stars. What terrifies you? Because what scares me is the possibility that I'll never set things right with Leaf. That's what scares me. So, LOVE is what's gonna set me free.
What is LOVE?
If I say it, I'll get zapped back into the dungeon, Dewey.
What's the word?
It's love. And there's like a beam of light and Rev disappears and like reappears back in the dungeon. Can one of the two of you go up and give him a pep talk? Because I'm done.
Do you want to do it, V? Or I don't know. You talked to him a lot earlier.
I'll give it a go, sure.
I think at the moment... No.
Okay, Dewey, what happens right before V zaps in?
Dewey takes that moment. He just didn't want Rev to be around when he bared his soul to Carvach's funeral pyre. And he says, redemption.
V, make a perception check for me. And Dewey, if you would like to try to hide this from V, you can roll a check of your choice. I'll let you choose.
Oh, great.
I only got a 10, so.
I also got a 10. I used stealth.
Oh. So, I think that means V catches part of what you say. So as you say redemption and poof, this beam of golden light like shoots up, you see right before you fizzle out from like the top of the peak, like another pillar of golden light rising from the earth as V like spirals into existence. And Dewey, what is like the fragment that V hears?
I think you get Shin, the very end. So it could be like any number of words.
Mm-hmm. And V, you just catch the tail end of Dewey disappearing as you reappear back on the peak.
Oh, perfect. Good work, Quirk. Good work. Love.
And poof, with that, like, V zaps back into the chamber with the rest of her party.
My heart spreads its wings till the end of time. And every raindrop is a diamond in my mind. And I know that I could make a home in the breath between the words you speak. You're not just a person, you're a place I want to be.
You are a little bit different from everybody, but not a lot different. They keep statues of execution to harrow their spirit. You keep secret pictures of dead people in your underwear drawer because you find it erotic. You are a little bit different from me, but not a lot different. I hide in my blood, and you want to drink it, and I want you to drink it, because you are made of food that I cannot eat, because I am made of food that I cannot eat.
From a witch who was born of many gender. I learned to see a light. I learned to watch it glitter. I learned a secret from the light. I learned to watch it dancing. I learned to swallow light, to illuminate my darkness. I learned to feel love when I look upon my dark things. I learned this from a witch who was born of many gender. I learned to see a light. I learned to watch it glitter. I learned a secret from the light. I learned to watch it dancing. I learned to swallow light to illuminate my darkness. I learned to feel love when I look on my dark things. I learned this from a witch who was born of many gender. I learned to see a light. I learned to watch it glitter. I learned a secret from the light. I learned to watch it.
Content warnings for this episode include Content warnings for this episode include fantasy violence, body horror, gore, monsters and monstrosity, death and killing, apocalypse, trauma, complex and complicated relationships, flirting, and romance.
Back in the chamber, the four of you reunited. Like V and Dewey zapping in. Rev goes, finally. What'd you say, Dewey?
Nothing. We're all here, right? Let's go.
Okay.
That makes sense. I also said nothing, and it starts with...
Rev, go ahead.
V leans over to Rev. All I know is it ends in shen.
Shen? What's a shen?
I don't know. Maybe ration? Maybe food?
Rations?
Is Dewey hungry? I don't know.
I think there's a moment where like Rev really mulls on this, then realizes that Abiku and Dewey are leaving the two of you behind. Hey, wait up! There are monsters down here. And like Rev, like also like hurries down the tunnel, but pauses and turns to look at you, V, and says, "I'll bring up the rear. You're, squishier. Why don't you take the front?"
Okay. And you said it was kind of low light, right?
Yes.
So I think V's gonna tap she's gonna cast light on the chest diamond to cast a little bit more light on the space.
Yep. You tap your chest diamond, you walk up to the front, like maybe slide past Abiku and Dewey, and poof, like you radiate out this like warm, is it like a green light?
Yeah, green would make more sense than purple since that's like a cooler color.
Oh, sure. Sure, sorry. Oh yeah, green, like emerald light shoots out from V's diamond and like illuminates the walls around you. And you just see these beautiful, intricate carvings like in the walls. Like Rev actually lets out a low whistle and like raises her like fingers up to like trace the carvings of the wall, and you just see like murals of like landscapes of Kheer Tal and like eventually like all the flora and the fauna and the hills and the streams and the earth and the sky bleed together to begin to tell a story. You see like a village begin to like ribbon itself into being like in the carvings all around you. And as you continue to walk, Rev sort of like looks around, cranes her head up like toward where you, V, Abiku, and Dewey are and says, "Hey, you see anything ahead? Hear any monster noises?"
Do I hear any monster noises?
So the marching order is V, and then who's right behind V?
Dewey in his hurry to get away from Rev's question.
Okay, so it's V, Dewey, Abiku, and Rev. So why don't the three of you make a perception check for me?
Nat 20.
Hey.
Which would be a
truly
24.
Risk or reward. My God. Okay, 24. 2 nat 1s and a nat 20.
27.
Whoa. Jesus. Y'all be hearing things. Yes. The first thing all three of you notice is that the tunnel seems to slope downward. It's really gradual, though. Like, almost imperceptible. I think, Abiku, you're the first to notice that it's a really gradual slope and that it's not entirely straight. It actually curves. Almost like you're going down a spiral staircase, but the staircase is super wide and really, really, really big. And, like, you've got, like, tons of space to, like, curl downward. And you get the sense that you're going down, Abiku. All three of you can perceive this after a certain point. You also, Abiku, you hear it first. A kind of like a noise, I guess. Coming from, I mean, with your 27, maybe 100 feet in front of you, in the darkness.
I think she would do the like hand up like every, and then realize there are two people in front of her and be like, "Kss. Hey, there's something ahead of us. I don't know. And like pauses 90, 100 feet away approximately, probably precisely.
Probably precisely. I like that. V like stops and like listens and maybe slows up, walking forward a little bit more.
I think as like all of you pause to really listen and like be stealthy, the noise is like sort of, it's really faint, but it greets you as well. It's like a sounds like multiple voices or multiple creatures. But they're all sort of like overlapping. There are no words. They're just sort of groaning, and there's occasionally like a kind of, I guess, like a wet slapping noise.
That's gotta be like the monsters they were talking about, right?
Well, hopefully it's not the other monsters that ate the old monsters. That would be a problem.
I mean, there's 5 of us. There's can't be that many of them. We've got this, right?
Oh, I'm not worried at all about us. We are all quite efficient fighters.
Instead of charging right in, can I test something? I would like to. So this hallway that we're walking down slopes downwards and it like curves. So I was hoping, I want to take like a washer or something out of my bag, something round that'll roll, and cast Glyph of Warding on it, and then just like let it roll down the hall.
What does Glyph of Warding do?
It is the thing that Kane had in the
Heroes
up in the
Quarters?
tower. Yes. Yeah. Where I can set like a trigger and then like an effect will happen, such as acid, cold, fire, lightning, thunder damage, etc.
What's the trigger and what's the effect you're setting?
I just want, as soon as something comes to investigate it, to like touch the thing, I want it to explode in a cloud of lightning.
Okay.
A burst of lightning.
Okay. What does it look like as you cast Glyph of Warding on your washer?
You see me like attaching like some little round batteries to the thing, and then I just like set it on the ground and it starts to roll down. It just starts to roll down the hall.
I love that, actually. Yeah, I don't know if you're gonna make you do a check for it. You like attach, the batteries, you squat down and you roll it, and it like with a kind of tinny like spinning noise, it like rolls down the hall and eventually out of sight from like V's light, right? But all of you like hear it continue to roll and roll and roll for a while. And then you hear it click, 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 like sort of like a penny falling down, like spin, 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 and then clatter. And all of you hear the noises go, and you hear like some more like the wet slapping noise, I think. That's not quite the right way to describe it. I guess some of it is wet slapping and some of it sounds like nails scratching against stone floors, maybe. There's a pause, and then all of you just hear an explosion. So Dewey roll damage.
28 points of damage, lightning damage.
Oh my, Jesus fuck.
This is the only competent thing I've done.
Oh my god. Okay, I'm gonna write that down. Yeah, I think from like way far down, all of you just sort of see like a faint, like sparking blue light, just sort of like almost like you're at the top of the stairs and there's like a basement light show going on. You sort of see the lights from around the corner, you know what I mean? Like just against the wall sparking, and you hear screaming, like people screaming. Like the screaming of like people's voices, like wailing in agony in this horrifying chorus. And Dewey and V, I think the two of you are thrown back into like, for a split second, like a flashback of fighting the Hydra Flare, where like its various mouths just like wail in unison, and like the screaming goes off, right? And then like the lights and the flashing, the popping thunder noise like die down, and the screaming also eventually dies down. And there's just sort of like a chaotic kind of discordant thumping and slapping and scratching that's getting louder and louder and louder as whatever this thing is begins to go up the stairs, like up the tunnel, like up the slope toward where you are. So I think in the like spare handful of moments you have before it pulls into view around the corner, what would the three of you like to do?
V's gonna cast Minute Meteor and get 6 meteors floating around her.
Okay. What about Abiku?
You know what? I don't want them to get up here. Because like if it's hard to shoot, I'm like, Abiki would know that. Me, Austin would know that because I'm not sitting where she is. So I think instead I am going to cast Wind Wall.
Ooh, how does that work?
you would see Abiku take out her fan, actually, that she carries. Takes her fan out and just like flaps it once towards the stair, towards where this thing is coming from, and you hear this like rushing wind from behind her blow past all of us, and this such hard gust of wind that it's almost like cartoonishly visible erupts like in between us and this thing.
What does that do?
You'll have to make a strength saving throw or take 3d8 bludgeoning damage on a failed save or half as much on a successful one. It keeps out smoke and gas and other things. Things can't really fly through it, and things that are shot through it are automatically deflected.
So yeah, this gust of wind like howls down like this like narrow tunnel all around you, and swirling with such ferocity you swear you can almost see every individual blade of gust. Like this wall of wind just like directly in front of where who's V, right? Who's at the very front? V is standing, right? So your hair is just sort of like whipping out like a flag, like all around you. Like Dewey, your feathers are getting ruffled, right? It's kind of hard to hear each other because like the roaring wind is like howling all around you. And Rev has summoned Grim, like while this has happened, right? The scythe, the top of the scythe kind of hits the top of the tunnel. She goes, fuck. And the scythe like glows kind of dark and it gets smaller. You have to like fit within these like smaller environs, right? Because it's hard to swing a longsword in a fucking tunnel. She like, the scythe gets smaller. And the three of you get ready. Dewey, I think your little washer was maybe like what you got to do to prepare for this thing. As all of you see now, just at the edge of like V's light piercing through the howling gusts, a conglomeration of limbs kind of stitched and mashed together. You see peering out from cracks between like the folds of elbows and the crooks of knees and like the bending of like necks and shoulders are faces occasionally, similar to the face stealer and the hydra flare. Faces that used to be people's faces, like used to be tieflings and half elves and orcs and dwarves and halflings, but have been twisted, desiccated, and ripped of their souls. Now they're just sort of there and clearly dead and just sort of like dead-eyed staring out. It's like a corpse bolus. It's like a bunch of corpses stitched and mashed together into this kind of like big, it's large, it's bigger than a biku, ball that just sort of seems to roll slash pull slash drag slash walk itself forward. Know what I mean? On like hands, flesh that like slaps against the ground and like nails that drag and like using its momentum and its heft to just sort of like pull and like slap and turn itself over. And sort of leaking out of the mouths and out from behind like stitches and crevices of like where the arms and legs don't quite fit together is this kind of like black liquid, almost like tar or oil or gasoline, and it just leaves this liquid in its wake. So I'm gonna need y'all to roll initiative.
7.
7 from V.
9. 5 plus 4 is 9.
9 from Abiku. Dewey?
Oh, 11 for Dewey. Yep.
Okay, so the first creature to act is gonna be what I'm calling the corpse bolus. It is going to just like its mouths are like dripping with this like black saliva and it's gonna try to move through the wind wall. So it's gonna make a strength save, right? Strength is one of the things it's good at. Against what?
Yeah, DC 17.
Not when it rolls like shit. So it fails. Does that mean it can't get through the wall, or does it mean it just takes damage?
It can get through. It's just gonna have to decide to take damage to get through, which I'm sure it.
Yeah, just roll the damage. Go ahead.
14.
14 points of bludgeoning damage. Okay, and
yes.
How wide is the wind wall again?
Oh, I just sighed. I thought it was just set. Sorry, I guess I have to, because it's 50. I can make it up to 50 feet long, 15 feet high, and 1 foot thick. So I'll probably make it like a perfectly fit whatever the
within the cylindrical tunnel,
yeah.
right? And you make it like 50 feet long, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and tell me, does the inside count as difficult terrain? Is it like speed halved, basically?
It is not mentioned difficult terrain, so no, unless you want to decide it is. 'Cause it's so
it makes sense for it to be kind of slow inside the massive wind tunnel. So this thing like hits the wall and it lets out a shriek that like thankfully the howling of the wind like snatches the screams right out of its tongues and throats. But it's continuing to as it continues to sort of like roll up the fucking ramp at you. And because the wind is whipping so fiercely, the oil, or whatever it is, the tar, the substance secreting from it begins to whip around. It gets carried up, and I need all of you to make a Constitution saving throw.
I'm sorry, everybody.
It's fine. I whipped up a new gadget for this last level.
Oh, thanks, Inspector Gadget. I got a 16.
16 from Abiku?
I will say that at first I rolled a nat 1, but then I used a luck point, and
3 nat 1s this session.
A 19.
19. Okay, that's respectable from V.
Rolled a 21.
Okay, so V and Dewey saved. So the two of you will take half damage. And Abiku did not, so you'll take full damage. So the full damage is... The full is gonna be 19 points of poison damage and 6 points of acid damage. As these droplets of this like empty ooze, right, like fling out from the wall and like spatter onto all of you, you just like hear like sizzling as it hits your armor or like your hands or your feathers, right, or your skin, and like it begins to eat away at your body, right, like burning away your skin. It's horrifying and it hurts like fire. And Dewey and V, the two of you notice that this like kind of like thick black liquid is distinctly similar to the liquid in like the vials that Kilohana threw in the final showdown against the Paragon Killer to like spawn these empty beasts, right? Like this is whatever primordial blood or milk or substance it is that empty beasts come from. And if either of you who failed actually, I'm only gonna allow for Abiku because Abiku's the only one who failed the roll. You can roll Arcana or nature on it to learn more about it if you want, as it's like eating into your flesh.
Okay, I'll roll nature. But for my nature check, don't worry, I only got an 8.
Even with an 8, kind of similar to what I said earlier, this goo, as you look at it as it's just like against the wind, you see that the goo seems to be coming from within it. Like there's something in the center of this thing that's secreting this goo and probably animating the corpses, right? The goo is its lifeblood, right? It's void lifeblood, for lack of a better term. That's what you learn from getting splashed by this thing. It can't make it to the other side by the end of its turn. So next up is gonna be Rev, who's just gonna sort of bark from the back, everyone get down! And if you want, as a reaction, you can like bend down, like in response. So all of you maybe like, yeah, all of you duck down, and Rev sweeps Grim forward, and like pulsing out from the blade, like shoots out like a black like slice, like through the air, right? Like it boomerangs kind of through the air, through the wind wall, and slashes into this corpse bolus. And I'm gonna make an attack roll. That is a miss, but she's gonna choose to hit, and is going to deal, let's see, 24 points of magical slashing damage and another 11 points of necrotic damage. As you just see like cuts and lesions, gashes just open up in this thing. But instead of bleeding blood, anything red, or even pus, it bleeds this like black tar, like wherever lesions and lacerations rip open on its fleshy body. Next up is going to be Dewey.
Have we interacted with this primordial goo stuff?
You have, like I mentioned, like Kilohana, it seemed to be similar to the goo in the vials that Kilohana threw, and also like similar to whatever goo would have spattered onto you when fighting empty beasts everywhere. They all kind of bleed this kind of black blood.
We haven't like gotten a chance to like really look at it, right?
No one except for Oka, I don't think, but Oka's not here.
Okay. All right, I think since the wind is still blowing from behind us, Dewey's gonna like sidle down to the edge of where the wind wall stops, and then stick his hand through the wind wall, and he's gonna use poison spray at the creepy flesh goo limb monster.
I'm gonna need you to make a strength save to avoid getting hit, right? Like, because it doesn't, there's friendly fire here, I'm assuming, for the wind wall.
Good thing there's an app for that. There's a gadget for that. I get to add my intelligence modifier to strength checks for saves.
Whoa! How do you justify this in the fiction? What do we see that's like on you?
It's my armor of magical strength, which I think is just like, it's got like electricity running through it. So
armor!
It's my armor. It's not like I'm gonna lift weights and get swole. So I have to make a machine to help me be strong.
Oh, could we say that you like added, like you upgraded Tonga's armor
Yes.
that she gave you?
Yeah,
and this
exactly.
is like what it is. Nice. Okay, you stick your hand through. What'd you get on that save?
16.
Is that sufficient to Biku? No.
No, of course not. Okay,
Biku
what
rolled
happens?
friendly fire.
No, let me roll max damage real quick.
Are you gonna break the bones in his hands?
A poor pigeon winged man.
Uh-oh.
Oh no. Good time to roll lots of damage.
18.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Dewey, it's a little bit like sticking your hand inside of a shredder, except the shredder instead of blades is just rocks that just bludgeon against you, right? And you see your feathers like flapping in every direction. Like some of that like black goo like slaps onto your feathers as you're like trying to like force it through the wall. But you cast poison spray at it, right?
Yeah.
How does that work?
And a puff of noxious gas comes around in my palm. I think that like with the wind, it doesn't really matter which direction. If it's like it doesn't have to be super precise because the wind is all going towards this thing anyways. The creature has to make a con save.
Okay, it's good at that. It's good at con and strength.
Dang.
Oh, against what?
18 again?
Well, I can't seem to roll above a 10. So why don't you roll max damage?
That's 19 points of poison damage.
Whoa, does it just come straight out of your palm, or do you have like a gadget? Like a little like web shooter or something?
Yeah, I think it would be dumb of him to like mix up a poison in his palm. So he's probably got it in like a test tube of sorts, and he just like uncorks it and just like shoves it in the thing's direction.
I like that
And the
actually.
wind
You,
carries
like,
it around.
Yeah, test tube, and then you poof, and you just see all of you see like a puff of just what color is it?
Let's say orange.
A puff of orange like acid just begins to like join everything else in this like horrible melting pot of pain, and it like the acid like swirls around and just sort of sizzles against this thing's hide, and it does have resistance to poison damage, but it's still because you know it's made of poison, but it lets out a as you see like the orange acid like burn holes in its like fleshy body, right? As it continues to use, you see like Dewey, horrifyingly, you see one of its many hands like shoot out and like lodge its nails like into the stone and begin to drag it. Like it seems to find purchase, and it begins to like drag itself like toward you even more, right? As
I'm out of here.
Do you use your movement to retreat?
Yes, absolutely.
to the back of the line.
Yeah, behind like at least V and Abiku.
Yeah, all of you see Dewey just sort of scamper backward, like behind V, behind Abiku, and just like sort of like maybe you like collide against like Rev's solid form, right? Hey, you're not leaving us for dead again, are you?
No, do your thing.
You got it. Is that the end of your turn, Dewey?
Yes.
Okay, then in that case, we are gonna go to Abiku.
I think she is. Yeah. Me and Sun are gonna go fight this thing.
You're going in?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. Okay, so what do you do? What does it look like? Describe it to me.
She like goes to stick her bow out, and she like realizes her arms are too wide, like even to like do this motion, and so she like pulls out her two short swords on her hip, and is like, "Son, we are going," and like fucking like leaps over V, like leapfrogs over V, and just runs into the wind wall.
Do you have to make a save against your own spell?
I think that's a question for you. I don't think anything says you don't.
I think you do, because this magic I think is still kind of new to you. Magic is new. Everything's new to you. So until you can sort of like prove yourself to your own magic, you're gonna take some friendly fire from your own spells. What'd you get?
It's a strength saving throw. I'm very strong. Over 15 plus 7.
Yeah, you weather the storm. You just like jump right into that wall, and immediately like the shouts of like Rev behind you, of like Dewey like scrambling up against like Rev's legs, like are muffled immediately as it's just wind just like pummeling your eardrums, like blasting your braids in like every direction, right? And like I think maybe even the clouds in your face get blown around a little, you know, by like all the disturbance spins around you, and you like plant your feet, but you don't take any damage from it. And this like acid, as soon as you enter it though, the acid, both from Dewey's acid spray, as well as this thing's body, like whips around and starts to hit you again. So just make another con save for me when you enter this thing.
Ooh, not enough. I'm over it. That's only a 12.
So Dewey, why don't you roll your poison spray damage against Abiku, and I will roll this thing's damage against you as well.
Okay. Again, sorry about that. 22 points of poison damage.
Oh, fuck. But you have it, right? You have it.
Oh my god. Well, I rolled a nat 20 to con save to keep the wind wall up from Dewey's, so I'm still up.
Oh, thank God. Okay, thank God. The wind wall's still up, but you take 11 points because it's halved, right? Like as like the orange acid.
Right.
Yep.
Thank
Don't
you.
forget that. You're welcome. The orange acid sizzles against you, but just sort of like this creature, all of you see it sort of like sizzle and then fade against Abiku's skin, almost like she's like resistant to it, right? And I think that's the last of like the orange acid. It's been used up. It like hits Abiku and that's it, in the swirling wall. But there's tons of this like black, void, empty, nothing oil, because this thing keeps producing it. So you are going to take, yikes, I rolled high. Also 22 points of poison damage. So that's another 11. And 9 points of acid damage. So halved. No, you take full acid. So 9 points of acid damage.
Okay. So, yeah, I'm just going in. Me and Sun, we're going in.
I think maybe Sun also has to make a strength save.
Of course, Sun rolls like higher than me. Sun got like a 19.
Sun's good.
Plus,
Sun's right with you. You like jump over V together, like both of you leapfrog over V. You hear like a clatterings of bones. You know, it's like Sun's like form goes over you, and the Sun lands and braces, and like you feel like Sun's like bones like knock against your body as they like. Oh, this is one heck of a fight, Abiku. Now let's rip this thing to shreds.
Yes, this should be quite fun, and I'm gonna run up and do some attacks.
Go for it.
24?
24 just misses? Do you want to take the miss? Or do you want to have it hit and let it have a reaction?
No, I'll take the miss. I can do better.
Okay. As you charge up, what does the miss look like as you like swing your swords at it?
I think it gets knocked off kilter by the whirlwind. I think she's trying to like move with like the gusts, right? Because it's like it seems continual, but like there's still probably an ebb and flow to like strong versus like low, even though it's really strong. And so she like tries to swing when it like dies down and misses the timing and like just like gets knocked off center.
I like that, yeah. Like the wind takes a minute to adjust to. You swing your sword, it goes wide, and this thing lets out like as it continues to drag its nails like on the stone tile toward you.
Okay, so that is higher on the dice, so it should hit because 24 just missed. 18 plus 9 is math.
27, that does hit.
Okay, cool.
So roll damage.
I shall roll damage now. I will use my thing to make this a favorite foe, so we'll take an additional D8 of damage. 12 points of slashing damage from me. And then Sun's gonna try and bite it.
Okay, at the top of Sun's turn, Sun is also gonna have to make a con save against the gross black oil.
No, that's a 14.
Yeah, that is a failure. So Sun is going to take, yikes. Okay, 24 points of poison damage. And yikes again, 11 points of acid.
Yeah, Sun's gonna try and bite it.
Cool. Sun like sort of like shakes off the acid as it like kind of like, because Sun's like bones are white, right? So you see like bones sort of almost getting painted black on one side by all the swirling gusts of like oil like slapping into them. They let out and they like leap forward and begin to attack this thing. So go ahead.
I think the oil really pissed Sun off because Sun just rolled a nat 20 to bite this thing.
So does Sun want to take max damage and then roll again, or a narrative boon?
And a narrative of the boon.
Do you want to pick it, or do you want me to have Sun pick it?
This is Sun. I rolled, but this is Sun's moment to shine.
Sun is pissed at being sizzled with like poison and acid and like just wants to look cool in front of like their new friends and in front of you and like just destroy this thing that's threatening you. So they bowl this thing over with their narrative boon. They like dig their like sharp bone claws into its side and like bite onto one of its like 7 necks, and both Sun and the corpse bolus go tumbling like down the slope again, out of like, I think it gets knocked prone, right? Like to the edge of like the wind wall. It's like half in the wind wall, half out, and Sun's like head is out of the wind wall, and it's like like snapping at this thing. So all attacks against this thing are gonna have advantage until the start of the start of the next round. So including V. So what did Sun roll for damage? Double damage.
5 is 26 points of lightning damage from Sun's bite.
Oh my god, yeah, just lightning sparks from Sun's jaws, and like they knock this thing down and like sort of push it kind of back away from you, Abiku. And it's like, Sun's just like tearing at it, like chunks of it just out, and like black, I think blood is just spraying up all over Sun and sizzling against Sun, but Sun doesn't take damage because Sun got a fucking nat 20, and it's just like rending into this thing, like ripping off arms, ripping off legs, ripping off shoulders, etc. Just like trying to get to the center of this thing while it's down.
I think with that and with how Sun knocked it, Abiku will free action drop the wind wall and just kind of shout back, "We have it pinned, let's go."
Okay, great. Yeah, so on Abiku sort of shouting at everyone to go while this thing's like pinned underneath Sun, we're gonna go now to V's turn in the order.
Okay, so V she grabs 2 meteors and she like gets them going, like just put these 2 little balls of fire in front of her. But first she's gonna in a move reminiscent of Salt Bay, she's gonna like snap her fingers and cast Firebolt for the first time in her life. Like just from the spark, this giant little mote of fire just gonna fly over Abiku's head and into this creature. So I'm gonna make an attack roll there, and I get advantage because it's prone, right?
Yes, you do.
So okay, that one was 27, not 20.
Oh my god!
I've really been risk or reward all fucking night.
Oh my god, it's so Scott Nectus of you. Would you like to take max damage and then roll again, or a narrative boon?
You know what? I would like to combine bonus action and all this. I think I'm just gonna do a narrative boon of just. She does, boom, it flies over, and immediately following it's like the 2 meteors, and so it's gonna like burn into creature, and let's say it like burns a nice little hole in the gut, and like each meteor like sort of like goes in, and you just see like an explosion of fire from this creature.
Yeah, okay, that's awesome. Roll double dice.
All right, wow, so we got that maneuver, 32, just from the firebolt, is 32 points of fire damage. And then from the other one, 16 additional fire damage. Yes.
Wow. This thing fucking explodes. As the firebolts and the meteors crash into it, there's like a moment where it like kind of distends and bulges, almost like a tumor. It's like forming on parts of its body as it like almost seems to absorb the fire. And then like in a cavalcade, in a massive explosion of black goo and fleshy bits and fire and brimstone raining down, this corpse bolus explodes, and like it's like blood splatters onto the walls, you know, like legs and limbs like hit like the stone and then like roll onto the ground and roll off, you know. And I think like Sun goes like jumps away from the explosion at the right time and like shakes their head, like has like a hand like in their mouth, and it's like before like realizing that the battle's over, and they drop it, and there's like it left like a huge splatter of just like black gore and blood on like one side of the wall to your right, like a massive like you've just exploded someone right there sort of situation, and there's just tons of limbs everywhere. And as like the final limb like rolls down the steps and like stops at like your feet, Abiku, what did the 3 of you do?
I have a question. Is the blood on any of the pictography that we saw earlier?
Yes, all over them.
Abiku will take out her fanned. She'll fan her
fan hand.
And I will use my wind fan to cast gust of wind to blow the gore off of the murals.
I really like that. I think maybe what this looks like, if it's okay with you, is that the remaining wind that's still swirling in this corridor like dissipates, poof, like against like the walls and sweeps the gore off, and there's like a wet slump noise as the gore comes off and just slaps onto the ground instead, and like the wind poof, vanishes in like a beautiful single gust from your fan.
Yeah, that's much better. Yeah.
I'm just adding on to the spice you've already given us, Abiku. Lovely, I like that. I actually think all three of you deserve at least 1 point of inspiration for your badass moves during that fight. So you can mark inspiration on your sheets. There's like a shing noise as Rev like de-summons Grim. Ugh, that was disgusting. Remind me again why Oka loves doing this shit.
Why does Oka like anything? I mean, they really have a thing for blood. I wasn't lying back in
You've
the...
got a thing for blood and horned lovers, I guess.
All right.
That was the one. That was the one at the dinner who got up and ruined it, right?
Which
which
one?
Which one?
You said Oka, right? He was the one. He was like, you knew about the prophecy or whatever, and then stormed out.
Yes, Oka was the one who got mad at Dr. Luso, yes.
Oh, okay.
But I think they've made it up. I don't...
He likes blood. Okay.
Oka actually uses they-them pronouns, says a ref cutting in.
They like blood, okay. I only talked to them briefly. I should have asked when I was at the dinner. They left so quick.
They have strong values, but they also really know what they're talking about when it comes to blood. And I think they've got us soft inside. I mean, we're bath bros.
You're
Bath bros?
Yeah, Well, V, when you kissed your long-lost ex-fiancé in front of me without telling me that she had existed because you'd forgotten about her, I got a little upset. So I took a bath, and Oka was there helping me work through my feelings.
You took a bath with Oka?
No, not with Oka. That's gross. They cut my hair, actually.
They did a good job. I remember that.
Thank you.
Bath bros. Okay.
Bath bros.
They've got a tender heart, okay? That's what I'm trying to say. But don't tell them I told you that because I think they'd stab me.
You are all quite strange.
Says the person who was gallivanting around with a half-ice elf.
Costas is also strange. I did not say that my friends are not strange.
Well, welcome to the club, Abiku. All of us are weird.
Oh.
Yourself included.
Kind of the requirement.
Abiku is like processing that she's in a club apparently, so the scene can move on.
Yeah, Sun goes, is there a membership fee? Can you ask if we need to pay?
Do we need to pay? No, wait. Maybe
is that how that works?
Do we miss a letter, or is there
a dress code, or is there a memo? I think the two of you are just like talking to each other like quietly.
I think V, upon hearing that is there members dues fees? It's like, if this was 8 months ago, I'd make them pay.
All right, enough. I don't want to wait around for this thing to, I don't know, do something horrific like reform. So let's just get to the bottom of this, and maybe Carvach's tomb has more monsters we can clear out?
Oh, more of them. Is there anything in this room worth looking at, or do we just forge on and keep slashing our way through?
Looks like it's mostly just murals. Here. And like Rev like puts a hand up to where the blood used to be above this collection of loose limbs and hands and whatnot now. And you see like, yeah, sure enough, the murals, the carvings have gotten more intricate. Here you see like a village, and it seems to be like a village under like the yoke of like a tyrannical ruler. You see like mountains, like hills rising up, and it seems to be like a valley. And I think all three of you think of the valley that this town is in, and it looks very similar, right? This must be the same exact valley, but like thousands of years ago. And you just sort of see like the big looming silhouette of like a woman with like a crown and like kind of like an evil look on her face. Like this has to be the queen of the valley, right? That like the Agon here was talking about with like her hands like splayed over this horizon of just like farmers sort of with hunched backs like toiling under her tyrannical thumb. This must be the story of how Carvach liberated her people from the queen.
So, this was the Paragon before Dewey?
Yes. Just as Pascal was the Paragon of the Raven Queen before me, and Ying was the Paragon of Scott and Nectus before V,
Karvach Turai is the paragon of Galtanger before Dewey. A big buff centaur lady, good with a bow.
So like the exact opposite of Dewey.
That is quite a switch, yeah.
What are you talking about? We look exactly the same. And Dewey like poses against the wall.
And you see maybe like a village, like a peasant version of Karvach, who even in peasant form, like amongst like all the people who are like under the yoke, like looks really dignified and powerful and strong. Like this, I think a topless woman, you know, like with like the body of a horse, and she's just sort of standing strong, like maybe like with like a plow in one hand, really muscular with like big like long braids and in like a tall ponytail like down her back, and she looks nothing like Dewey.
Let's keep moving, shall we?
Well, wait, maybe it is like your heart.
You think his heart is a muscular topless woman?
No, if his heart was a muscular topless woman, I would act much differently around Dewey. But maybe
we're just gonna ignore that.
What? Well, maybe it's like, you know, like she helps people, and you said yourself you want to help people, so maybe it's, you know, it's that kind of thing. Maybe it's not just there's a saying, you don't cover the book.
Judge a book by its cover, Abiku.
Yes, that one.
Yeah, don't judge Dewey. Look, somewhere deep inside of there is a heart of a champion. We're just waiting to see it. Should we keep going?
I'm happy to continue on.
Yeah, let's get out of here. Ugh, that thing smells horrible. It's like nothing at all, which is somehow worse than rot. And Rev, you know, like steps away from like the corpse of this corpse bolus, and the rest of you continues going down the tunnel. The rest of the way until you reach the final landing is surprisingly quiet. You do see, I think, the sad remains of, I think, several members of the Turai clan. You see like evidence of a fight here, right? And you sort of piece together a story through just like the environment around you. You see like a discarded boot here, a splatter of like crimson blood there, you know, like blood against the walls, like nail gouges in the stone. And you sort of like and there's like trample marks on the ground as well. And you gather a kind of grisly story that perhaps this creature, this empty beast, was quite small at first, but it literally gathered steam as it incorporated more and more people into its corpse bolus and got like bigger and bigger and bigger, right? So the corpses were literally the remains of everyone who came down here and was lost. I think this is quite grim, and it's like settling over all of you. You like notice this happening around you until you reach the final chamber at the bottom of the hill. Takes you don't know how long you've been walking. It's easy to lose track of time in the dark, but at least another 15-30 minutes. And then you reach like the final like flight of stairs, you land, right? And the murals, the carvings this entire time have told the story of Karvach Turai, the story of a mighty hunter and farmer, even before she was the paragon, rising up during the gambit of queens to lead a peasant rebellion, right? Against this tyrannical queen of the valley. And you see like pictures of Karvach like throwing her fist up, and like tons of like peasants next to her, like with spears and like pitchforks and like homemade tools, and like riding their horses that are usually, you know, and oxen that are used to draw plows and whatnot, like against the queen's forces. And the peasant rebellion being successful, you see like them like planting their flag on top of like the bodies of like tyrannical soldiers. But then like the story turns when the queen captures Karvach. There's like a series of murals where Karvach is just imprisoned, and she's like behind bars, right? And she's just sort of like sitting there, right, thinking to herself, and like the murals sort of like pull in close on Karvach's face until we see like a brilliant, and this is like sort of like when we finally enter the bottom level, a brilliant ray of light. And the rays like extend past the hallway that you're in and like into this massive chamber where you see like a massive sun, the rays of Galtanger at the very back of this chamber carved into the stone wall in front of what appears to be a tomb. If you've ever been in a mausoleum, it's like a huge like stone coffin just rising off of the ground atop an elevated dais. But you know the tomb is just mostly there for ceremonial purposes. It's empty because Karvach's body was cremated. And the sun behind the tomb
is glowing faintly, like a faint kind of golden magical light, like lighting up the interior of this dungeon. And you see so many offerings just at the base of this tomb, like candles, like votive candles, and like foodstuffs and coins and gems and like horns and hides and furs and like carvings and just so many treasures here, right? Like beautifully crafted bows even, and like staffs and like short swords and like shepherd's crooks and whatnot, just all sorts of offerings collected over the years at Carvach's like tomb right here. And there is an inscription, a stone inscription at the base of the tomb.
I'll proceed up to the raised tomb.
Dewey, as you walk up the steps, right, and like this glowing light from like the sun behind a tomb like falls on you, right? Like these shafts of like pale golden light like filtering through like your thin feathers, right? There's a moment where Abiku and V, you look at Dewey like climbing up the steps, and it's almost like Dewey's like climbing up to reach the sun, right? As like Dewey's like feathers become illuminated on the edges, and you stop sort of at like the base of the tomb itself, the foot of the tomb where the inscription is, and it seems to be like a carving in Kyrian. I assume you put like your glasses back on, right? You like flip the lens to Kyrian, and you see like a very similar inscription to the one above ground, right? It's just like talking about Carvach, like how she was like incredible paragon, wielder of sunshot, you know, like slayer of the Queen of the Valley. But something about this inscription calls to you in a strange way, Dewey. So you look at it, it's almost a little bit like you're getting like tunnel vision a little bit, and there's like a force sort of like behind your solar plexus, a magical like soul-like magnetism that's drawing you toward this inscription, almost like the inscription is crying out to you, touch me.
I think Dewey reaches out a hand to like, you know the way you like trace over words, you like when you're learning how to read, so you don't get lost in where you're going, he sort of runs his feathered hands over the text.
Your hand drifts forward, and as you sweep your hands over the text changes. Like every sentence that you sweep your fingers over, the words shift. Almost like a veil of illusion is being peeled backward. And when you finally sweep your palm over, you see the message Carvach left for you. And we're going to end the session there. So thank you everyone for tuning into Arc 5 episode 10, called Kheer Tal season, session 5, When Ache Arrives. Put it on paper. I have been your GM and creative producer, Connie. My name is Bai Connie Chong. You can find me on Twitter and TikTok and Ko-Fi at Bai Connie Chong. They, he, she are my pronouns. I'm going to pass along introductions to Erica.
Hi, everybody. I'm Erica, and I played V. I swear I'm not going to steal anything, Noxurzo. You can find me at Erica Newgirl everywhere that I exist. Come watch me on Twitch sometime. We have some fun. I will pass it on to Max.
Hey, I'm Max. My pronouns are they, them. I play Dewey finally does some damage, Quirk. You can find me, I have an Etsy store where I sew stuff like top surgery pillows. And you can find me on Etsy at Stitchmonger. I'm also on Instagram under that handle. So come take a look at what I make. Use the code Transplanar for 10% off. And I'll pass it to Austin.
I'll start again. My name is Austin. My pronouns are he, they, and she. I just got done playing at Biku. Yeah, I like big muscular lesbians. Ishtar. You can find me on Twitter at Sailor Austin. That's at Sailor SCT Austin. I'm a professional game designer, player, writer, and lover. So come find me on Twitter. Let's hang out and talk about games.
Hell yeah, this was our incredible cast. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Tune in next Saturday at 7 p.m. U.S. Central Time, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern for more of this yummy goodness. We're going to be following up on Dabathati parties antics. How are they going to get themselves out of the situation they found themselves in? Who knows? So we're going to be raiding someone awesome right now. Check out the raid message in chat. Use it. Even if you see if you vibe with their stuff, give them a follow if you do. Even if you can't stay around for long, use the raid message. Let them know Transplanar sent you. We love you all so much. Shpijo. I'm getting my tits chopped off.